installing Windows Bootcamp on an SSD, and finally getting an eGPU to work after some hardships. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dan and Mac. Today I'm real excited today. I'm going to install Windows on an external drive I bought. Now this is a SSD USB-C. This is going to be real interesting. It's actually a 1 terabyte drive. We're supposed to get 550 megabyte read speed, read and write. Let's talk about why I'm doing this real quick. I got a Mac computer obviously, and I want to be able to put Windows on there so I can play games, because unfortunately enough, these game developers are not embracing metal and bringing the games over, so we still got to go over to Windows. You could install Bootcamp on the hard drive on your MacBook itself, but for me, I want to use that space for editing. If I'm out and about doing mobile editing, I want that space. So I'm gonna have a 1 terabyte external drive for my games and Windows. We're gonna see how this works. And we all know how dirty Windows can be, so it's gonna be nice to be able to unplug it and get it away from the Mac and just have peace of mind that you're safe, because I am not a big Windows fan, let me tell you what, but it does come in handy for gaming, and that's where it shines. I also want to see how this is going to work with, you guys know I got the external eGPU. This is a Sonnet Breakaway Box 650, the Vega 64 graphics card, so it's hauling ass, and I want to see if this is going to work on Windows also, because that's the whole point. If I can't use this, it's going to be like, well, does it really work? So let's give this a test. I'm real excited to get going on this. Now it is a little extra work to put Windows on an external drive because it's not supported locally in Bootcamp, so we got to download a few things here before we get started. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect the drive. We'll see if it mounts here, and then we'll go from there. Looks like it mounted right away. It says Extreme SSD. Let's go into Disk Utility, or let's check Disk Utility, why not? So it is there, 1 terabyte. Let's go to Blackmagic, do a speed test on this, see if we truly get our speed. Let's target the drive. Extreme SSD, open, start. 480, so we're not getting quite 550 like they advertised. Read is a little faster. All right, so we'll just go with that. So it's decent. I think it should be good for what I'm gonna do here. Let's go ahead and do step 1. So first things first, folks, we wanna make sure we gotta download 3 things here. You gotta download your Windows 10 ISO. These links will be in the description. So this is Microsoft.com. We're gonna get the ISO, just get the Windows 10, the latest edition. Whenever you see this, I'm sure there'll be a newer version available. Just go ahead and download that. I got mine downloaded already here. You also want to get Vmware Fusion 11. Just go ahead and do the try. You only need it for a trial. Download that. I got mine here. And then also we're going to need Win to USB. This is version 4.1 as I'm filming this, but go ahead and download that. So first things first, on Mac here, we got to get to the Bootcamp Assistant. That's going to be in your launch, other, Bootcamp Assistant. And then we're going to want to go up to the menu bar on top and go to Action, Download Windows Support Software. And let's just go ahead and target the desktop on this. This will be your drivers for your mouse and keyboard and all that stuff. Again, I'll speed this up to get through this. Just go ahead and Touch ID that. Okay, then we're gonna quit out of here. And now next we wanna go to the Disk Utility, because now we wanna get this drive reformatted fresh. So we're gonna go up to Disk Utility, click on our Extreme SSD, and then we're gonna wanna go to Erase. And we're going to name this Bootcamp, and we want to make sure that it's Mac OS Extended Journaled, and then hit Erase. Okay, that's done. We've got Bootcamp here now. So let's close this utility, quit out of there, and now we want to open up the VMware Fusion package here, DMG I should say. Double click here, open, authenticate. I might have to enable these extensions. So let's just hit allow in the security and privacy. Let's go agree. And then we want to go to, I want to try. Continue, that's fine, continue. Authenticate again. And we'll uncheck join and done. So we're gonna wanna drag our Windows ISO to this. That looks good. We're gonna hit continue. We're gonna do the easy install. This is, I believe this is Windows 10 Pro. Continue, continue without key. We're gonna do more isolated, continue, and then we're gonna do finish. Now that we got that, Windows is gonna install on the virtual machine. So go through your standard Windows setup and get things rolling here. As we wait for Windows to boot. Does everybody wait for Windows to boot? This is Windows, it takes forever to boot. Believe me folks, I am not a big fan of Windows, but I need to do this in order to play some of the games I want. Unfortunately, I used to use GeForce Now, but GeForce Now doesn't even boot up anymore on the Mac. It comes up with some error or whatever, so it's like, well, this will be a lot more solid experience anyway than trying to play it through the network. So this is nice, we're booted into Windows now. We didn't have to go through any of that long setup process. It was all automatic. Just hit yes here. And now we're gonna wanna eject our Bootcamp drive on Mac OS. Unplug it here. And then we're gonna wanna plug it back in. Connect to Windows. Damn it. This device, SanDisk Extreme SSD, was unable to connect to its ideal host controller. An attempt will be made to connect this drive to the best available host controller. This might result in unidentified behavior. And now as you can see here folks, I'm having major trouble with this drive. It's not mounting, it's sitting here weird. So obviously there's an issue with this disk. All right, ladies and gentlemen, big issue here. The SanDisk that I bought, SSD, was not being detected on the Windows virtual machine. Now I ran up to the store and got the Samsung SSD T5, and this one now works. That same error comes up, but it does mount. So let's go ahead and continue where we left off. This was a big setback here, and I'm disappointed because I really like the look of this. But as we can see here, ladies and gentlemen, at the Samsung T5, this one will mount, this one won't. So keep that in mind. I'll probably just use this one for Final Cut projects or something. It's a terabyte. This one's only 500 gigs. So there's a few things I want to mention here. I did go ahead and format this drive. Let me plug it in here and mount it to the Mac real quick so you guys can see. Of course, that was in disk utility. A couple things to keep in mind here. I am on Mac OS High Sierra. So when you had the boot thing here, when you go to erase, we can't select the other option here, the guild. You got to make sure you come over here to view and then go to show all devices, and now we can go to erase, because this is important too, to make sure we got, you know, type in Bootcamp again, Mac OS journaled, extended journaled, and then make sure the guild is on guild partition map, because it's usually defaulted on master boot record. And then go ahead and do that. And we'll go with that. Let's go ahead and do a speed test on this drive real quick for those who want to know. I think the speeds are going to be quite comparable, but you just never know. Select that drive, Bootcamp, open, start. 480, yep, we're about in the same ballpark as we were at the SanDisk. So yep, basically the same thing. Do I wish I would have got the terabyte one? I don't know. We'll just make it work with 500 gigs, I guess, see what we got. All right, so let's go ahead and eject on OS 10. Unplug it, plug it back in. Now we're gonna connect to Windows. The error message, same error message is gonna come up. It's unable to connect to the ideal host. I thought for sure this was gonna be another dud on me. Just hit OK, and it does mount here. Now under the disk, this is the disk management in Windows. We're gonna click this healthy primary partition. We're gonna go ahead and right click that, and we're gonna click delete volume. Yes. All right. Then we're going to go to right click the unallocated space and do new volume. Next, 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 file system NFTS, default, and let's just name this Bootcamp. And then next, and then finish. So then we're gonna go to VMware Fusion menu, and then we're gonna go up to the virtual machine, CD, DVD, SATA, connect CD, DVD. All right, next we're gonna drag over the Win to USB exe, and then also our Windows support. Drag that on over. Now we're gonna install Win to USB exe on here. Double click. Yes, English. I accept the agreements. Next. Yep. Install. Finish. We can go ahead and quit out of here. We're gonna go ahead and open up this Win to USB. And yes. Close out of there again. Click on the CD ROM drive image. And we're gonna select the Windows 10 right here. Then we're gonna select Windows 10 Pro. Next, select our external hard drive, the Samsung T5. And we're gonna go ahead and click in here and then select the Bootcamp partition. Legacy, and then next. As we wait for Windows to get installed, crack open a tea. Zing tea. 99, 100. We're gonna go ahead and hit home, and then we're gonna go ahead and close out of the program, and then we're gonna open up our browser, go to this PC, and then we're gonna go to the Bootcamp. And then we're gonna go ahead and drag over our Windows support folder that we drug over, just drag it in here. All right, we can close out of here. Then we can go up to the menu bar on VMware Fusion, go to virtual machine, and then we're going to go to shutdown. Shutdown. All right, then we're gonna quit out of the virtual machine. We're going to go to System Preferences, Startup Disk, click our lock, Authenticate, select the Bootcamp window, Bootcamp Windows, and then we're gonna hit Restart. Oh boy. Oh boy. Again, Windows has to reinstall on the drive this time Because last time we did it, it was setting up on that virtual machine. Now we're setting up on the actual hard drive itself. So now we got to run through the whole thing again. Okay, it looks like we got to go through this welcome screen again. Ooh. All right, you see what I'm doing here? Let's hope this works. I can't even move the mouse or press enter with the keyboard, so that's really weird. I don't know if this is gonna work either. So we might have to get smart and try to do it all over again. Yes. Oh, okay, we got the mouse. So let's just go ahead and get through this, hit yes. We can get in there, get those drivers installed so it recognizes the computer, keyboard. I can't even make a name. See if there's an accessibility. Here we go, let's go to on-screen keyboard. Now we can type in a name. Pretty tricky here. I suppose if you really had to, folks, you could connect a USB keyboard to a Windows keyboard and it would work. Just something to keep in mind if you're ever going through this and you're having issues like this. All right, looks like we're at the desktop. So now we're going to come back into the browser. We're going to go to this PC, the Bootcamp drive again, C. Then go to Windows Support, Bootcamp, Setup. And we're going to do yes. And we're going to go through this, next. I accept, install. This should hopefully get our drivers on board so we can use the keyboard, the magic mouse, all that good stuff. All right, now we're underway. Got the Apple keyboard. All right, we're gonna click finish. It's gonna restart. Okay, we're back. Moment of truth. Will this keyboard or mouse work? The wireless mouse. The wireless mouse is not working. How about the keyboard? The keyboard works. Trackpad works. So that's a plus, I guess. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and try the eGPU. I don't have the mouse working yet, but I do have the other mouse working, but let's go ahead and try to see if the eGPU is gonna work on Windows 10. All right, let's go ahead and take and plug in the eGPU. Setting up device. This has been really rough trying to get this eGPU to work. And on the forums, I've been going at this for a day. It's been really, really rough. Now you can see it is now froze at the Windows boot screen. I was trying many different things. I had to boot in safe mode, delete the drivers, install the Radeon drivers, boot in again. Oh, thankfully it's loading, so I don't have to do a recover. But that was nasty. I had to do those recovers all the time before I actually did, what was the program that I used? I used DDU. That was to go in and safe mode, delete the drivers that it installed, and then install the actual other drivers that you had to download off of. That was bootcampdrivers.com, and you can go on here, folks, and get your Radeon drivers for Windows 10, and this is updated as 11/11/2018. That helped the system not get stuck black when I did a reboot. So there's a lot of stuff here. This is very, very technical. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am so happy I figured it out. I got, as you can see in the background, I got Windows running on my external monitor. That means I did indeed get the Vega 64 eGPU to run on my MacBook in Bootcamp via, remember this is external hard drive Bootcamp. I said this is pretty cool to be running Windows off of this hard drive and then running my eGPU external monitor. Got the best of both worlds. You know, a good Mac computer for video editing, but I got my Windows for gaming. This is the best of both worlds, folks. So I'm gonna get right into this. There was a few things, you know, after I went through and it didn't work, I had that yellow triangle come up. You're getting the error code 12. Now what that means is basically there's not enough resources available to run the graphics card out of the ports, because the way Mac OS has better allocations to resources where they can, you know, switch between the two graphics cards. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. I just went with the one simplest way. Now under Device Manager, you got to go under the Pcie Controller, and this is where it is. I'm going to put this graphic on screen, folks. The one on the left is for your 15-inch MacBooks. The one on the right is for your 13, because they are different. So just to show you what was going on, let's just boot up like normal. I got my external SSD with Bootcamp on there. Just boot it up. Hold down Option key to bring up our selection. Boot into EFI Boot for Windows. Now if you remember where we left off, again, this is like a week later since I spent the time researching this stuff. We were in Device Manager. The AMD Vega 64 was under here and it showed a yellow triangle and we're getting error code 12. That was because there was not enough resources allocated. And like I said, Mac OS has some magic they do to make that work, so they can switch from the iGPU to the DGPU to the eGPU. So there's all a bunch of stuff going on. Now to make this work, and I will put the link in the description so you guys can read it closer, because it's all working right now. But you have to come down to System Devices, open that up, and then we're going to go down to where it says the Pcie Controllers. Now this is interesting. It says Intel Xeon. I got this graphic on screen. The 16 is for the DGPU. I didn't want to disable that one because I don't think the iGPU is on right now. And if I did that, the screen's going to go black. You don't have access to it. So I didn't want to risk doing that. X8, which is your ports on your left side, and the X4 are the ports on the right side, the two USB-C ports. You can choose one side to have your ports on. I said, okay, I'll shut these off here. That'll dedicate the power that's needed to run the eGPU. So I'm going to have the external SSD running Windows and my eGPU on that side. So I basically disabled the X8 side here, and you can see it right here, it's disabled. So now we know I had the drivers installed, because when it did show up here, it did say Vega 64, so we're good there. What I'm going to do is just shut the computer down first and then plug in the eGPU, because I've tried plugging in the eGPU. Yes, it'll come up here. It won't switch to the external monitor, which means it wasn't running on the eGPU. So the best way I found for this to work, it will just come in, go to shutdown, shut the computer completely down, shuts off pretty quick, and now we're going to come over and plug in our eGPU, the Vega 64 in this case. Pop it in there. We're going to power on. We're going to hold down Option so we can boot to our Windows partition, our Windows drive, if you will. EFI boot. And it's going to load into Windows, and watch the magic happen. Boom! Now we're on the external monitor. That means they're running through the eGPU, folks. This is amazing. Alright, and like I said, I hooked up my wireless mouses and stuff, so these work. I'll just cancel out of here. We go over to Device Manager once again. Pop that open. Lo and behold, there it is. There's no yellow triangle, and they're both working. One other thing to note here, if you have a wired mouse, because for gaming I like to have the left and the right click and the scroll wheel, because you need that for obviously more options, it still will work on those ports that I disabled. Technically not disabled, but you can't run the eGPU on this side, but you can still plug your mouse in. It'll light up and it still works. So I mean, there you go. We got pretty good functioning PC here. But holy hell, it's like we're running really smooth here, and the graphics are pretty much damn near on high. I mean, I did turn the shadows down just a little bit just to make it a little more snappy, but everything else is like ultra high. Let's go down on the planet here quick. Yeah, there's a little bit of hiccups here, but I'm thinking that's just the game itself not optimized so well for AMD GPUs. But anyway, it's definitely better than GeForce Now playing through Mac, so I can't argue with that. So all in all, folks, I am very happy that I got the external eGPU working. This is so amazing. This is one thing I wanted to do, is like, okay, now I can boot from that external hard disk with Windows. Because like I said, I don't want Windows anywhere on my Mac system because I like that clean. So now I got that external boot, eGPU, and I can unhook them, get back to normal, and have my regular Mac OS. Frickin' love it. And it's been working great. So there you go. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you appreciate this video and hope you learned something. Bye-bye.